It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when I first noticed the HOA patrol car parked near the entrance to my property. I had just finished a long shift and was looking forward to some much-needed relaxation. The last thing I expected was for Karen's HOA patrol to come knocking. The HOA patrol wasn't anything official. It was a group of volunteers who had taken it upon themselves to enforce the neighborhood's rules, often under Karen's direction. Most of the time, they were harmless, just a bunch of busybodies trying to protect the neighborhood by handing out warnings for minor infractions. But I knew they were getting more brazen under Karen's leadership. As I pulled into my driveway, I noticed the patrol officer approach. He was standing next to my mailbox, clipboard in hand, looking as though he was waiting for an opportunity to pounce. I stepped out of my car, already feeling a slight irritation creeping up. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. The patrol officer, a middle-aged man with a stern expression, took a step forward. "We've received a complaint about your property, Dean. It seems that you've built a new structure in your backyard without approval from the HOA. That's a violation of community rules." I blinked in confusion. "What structure? I haven't added anything recently." He flipped through his clipboard and showed me a photo of my garden shed. It had been there for years, and it had always been within the boundaries of my property. I had even made sure to follow all building codes when I first built it. There was nothing new or illegal about it. "That shed has been there for years," I said. "It's always been within the rules." The officer didn't seem convinced. "It still hasn't been approved by the HOA, which means it's technically illegal. I'm going to have to issue a fine, and if you refuse to comply, we'll have no choice but to call the authorities to remove the structure." At that moment, I saw Karen coming down the street, clipboard in hand. She was smiling smugly, clearly enjoying the chaos she was causing. "Dean, I'm afraid you're going to have to remove that shed," Karen said, walking up to us. "The HOA board has made its decision, and you've violated community rules. You've been given multiple warnings, and now we have to take action." I looked at her, now fully aware of her intent. "Karen, you can't just make up rules. That shed is legal. It's been there longer than you've even been on the board. You're trying to bully me into removing something that's perfectly fine." "I'm afraid it's too late for excuses," Karen said, her smile widening. "The patrol officer here will be writing you a citation, and if you don't remove the shed, we'll have no choice but to escalate things." That's when I had enough. I pulled out my badge from the inside pocket of my jacket and held it up. "Karen, I'm the police chief of this town," I said, my voice steady and firm. "You have no authority to enforce any of these so-called rules when they infringe on my legal rights." Karen's face went pale, and the patrol officer looked back and forth between us, clearly unsure of what to do next. "You're the police chief?" the officer stammered. "Correct," I said, my tone getting colder. "And I'm telling you right now that this shed is staying right where it is. I suggest you pack up your clipboards and go before I report you both for harassment." The officer looked around, clearly uncomfortable. He turned to Karen. I don't know what to do. He's the police chief." Karen was fuming now. "You can't just walk away, Dean. The HOA's authority—" "Karen," I interrupted, "I don't answer to the HOA. You've been pushing too far for too long, and now you've overstepped. If you or your patrol continue harassing me, I'll be forced to take legal action." She stood there, her hands on her hips, seething with frustration, but she knew better than to argue further. "Fine," she said, her voice tight with anger. "But you'll regret this, Dean." "Maybe I will," I replied, "but not as much as you will when the HOA gets a letter from my lawyer." Karen and her patrol officer left without another word, and I stood in my yard watching them drive off. As they disappeared down the road, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. I'd finally had enough of Karen and her HOA tyranny. Later that evening, I filed an official complaint against Karen and her patrol, detailing their illegal attempt to interfere with my property. I also sent a letter to the HOA board, making it clear that I would be pursuing legal action if they didn't rein in Karen and her overreaching behavior. A few days later, the HOA sent a formal apology letter stating that Karen and her patrol had acted outside of their authority. They also reassured me that no further action would be taken regarding the shed. From that point on, Karen and her HOA patrol steered clear of me. The neighborhood finally started to realize that maybe, just maybe, Messing with the police chief wasn't the best idea.